Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling a massive puzzle for anyone in the global manufacturing and processing space. How exactly do you successfully enter and scale up within the highly lucrative but honestly incredibly complex European supply chain? I mean, it's a market with an enormous appetite for raw materials, advanced machinery, and circular solutions. But finding the right entry point, well, that can feel a bit like navigating a maze blindfolded. So, that brings us to the million-dollar question. How do global plastics manufacturers crack the European market? Are we talking endless cold outreach, setting up dozens of fragmented, expensive regional offices? Or is there a centralized strategic hub to make this happen? Well, spoiler alert, the definitive solution, the actual catalyst for securing those big contracts, investments, and relationships, lies right in the heart of Central Europe. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, the gateway to Europe. Second, the 2026 success story. Third, live technology and innovation. Fourth, historic bilateral trade alliances. And finally, expanding for 2027. Section 1. The gateway to Europe. You know, in global trade, location isn't just a nice-to-have advantage, it is literally everything. And here, we're talking about Poland's absolutely unique geographic and infrastructural positioning. The logistical hurdles of international commerce are frankly immense, but Poland, it effectively solves them. Just look at the maritime setup. Port Gdynia acts as one of the Baltic's premier container and logistics hubs, giving you direct, streamlined access to international ocean freight and short sea shipping. Now, combine that with intermodal rail and these seamless trade corridors running east to west, north to south, you aren't just looking at a country anymore. You're looking at a central nervous system for trade. It's the ultimate gateway, giving global polymer players direct access to over 500 million European consumers. Moving on to Section 2, the 2026 success story. All right, let's move from geographical theory to some hard proof. Let's open up the official post-show report from PlastPol 2026. This was the 30th edition of the event held in Kielce, Poland, and the numbers here are absolutely telling. 660. That's the number of exhibitors that arrived from 36 different countries. And just to put that into perspective, compared to the previous year's 2025 edition, that represents a solid 10% growth in exhibitor numbers alone. That is huge. And that momentum completely carried through to the attendees as well. We are talking about a massive footfall of over 15,000 professional trade visitors spanning 50 nations. So this wasn't just some local industry meetup, right? This was a highly concentrated global audience of plastic processors, machinery manufacturers, and raw material suppliers, all under one roof. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that staggering 20% jump in international representation. That figure doesn't just happen by accident. It reflects years of a very deliberate internationalization strategy by the organizers at Targi Kielce. They didn't just grow the size of the show, they deliberately expanded its global footprint, drawing in major attendees from Germany, the UAE, India, China, the US, Brazil, and dozens of other key markets. If we trace the chronology of this 4-day event, you can see exactly how this momentum built up. On day 1, trade publications from over 12 language regions completely swarmed the floor. By day 2, the energy shifted gears into these high-level diplomatic gatherings and historic agreements. Then day 3 saw aisles packed well into the afternoon, with record-breaking footfall, really cementing the show as a serious heavyweight commercial platform. And day 4, you'd think it would drop off, but no, the business continued right down to the very final hour. Exhibitors were literally stepping out of their booths to strike up spontaneous conversations and lock in their returns for the following year. Section 3, Live Technology and Innovation. So let's pivot away from the big picture statistics for a second and look at the specific machinery that makes this exhibition floor so incredibly dynamic. The crucial point here is the concept of a live production floor. Look, visitors do not travel all the way across the globe just to look at glossy paper brochures or static, lifeless displays. No way. Decision makers flock here because they want to see the machines actually do the work. They want to stand there, time the production cycles on their smartphones, and watch heavy processing equipment operating under real live production conditions. To really back up that live production claim, let's look at some specific mind-blowing tech demonstrations that were right there on the floor. First off, Engel's AI-integrated injection molding controller drew absolutely massive crowds. It was displaying over 1,000 process parameters adjusting in real time, mid-cycle, without a single human hand involved. Incredible. Then you had the European premiere of the Bolle MG300. This was a semi-solid magnesium thixomolding system, and it was literally producing lightweight, highly durable drone housings and propellers live on the floor in under a minute. And maintaining this steady, rhythmic pulse throughout the show, the Arberg All-Rounder Standard Electric series was continuously turning out spatulas and transparent drinking cups. It was the ultimate show-don't-tell environment. Section 4. Historic Bilateral Trade Alliances. Now, let's shift our focus from the buzzing factory floor back over to the diplomatic tables on day 2. Because, frankly, the technology is only half the story. The other half is the historic bilateral trade alliances being formed. To put a human face to all these statistics, these are the real people driving these global connections. The Polymer Bazaar VIP delegation, right out there on the show floor. Just to give you an idea, the Indian National Pavilion alone brought together 14 leading Indian manufacturing companies specializing in heavy process machinery and downstream automation. This gave them direct, face-to-face access to buyers from 36 exhibiting nations. The micro-narrative of day 2 is absolutely fascinating to unpack. On a grand macroeconomic level, you had the India and EU free trade agreement being signed that exact same day. But simultaneously, on a micro, industry-specific level, Plastivision India, representing the AIPMA, and Targi Kielse signed a landmark bilateral cooperation agreement directly on the show floor. People were literally dubbing this the mother of all deals. It committed both events to hosting dedicated national pavilions and formalized a long-building relationship between the Indian and Polish plastic sectors. And this brilliantly illustrates the strategic weight of these agreements. As PlastPol project director Camille Pers noted, this wasn't just a handshake for the cameras. It was a vital step in building a global network that directly opens up new business opportunities. For all the visiting delegations, it was a very clear signal that the India to Europe corridor in plastics is now an institutional priority at the absolute highest levels. This overarching vision is championed by Dr. Andrei Mokhan, the president of Targi Kielse. He really emphasized that for 3 decades now, they've been building this event's position as a premier meeting place for the global plastics industry. It just proves that this exhibition isn't just some brief annual get-together. It's a genuine, long-term catalyst for global investments, deep industry relationships, and major market-moving contracts. And finally, Section 5, Expanding for 2027. Let's move on and see how this builds into the future. With exhibitors confirming their registration for the next year before they'd even packed up their current stands, the organizers are scaling up dramatically. To build capacity, the venue is getting significantly bigger. PlastPol 2027 will unveil Targi Kielce's brand new Hall 8. This edition alone brings in 15,500 square meters specifically engineered with a high load capacity, built perfectly for that heavy machinery we talked about. This pushes the total covered exhibition space to over 50,000 square meters. The market demand is undeniably there, and the physical space is literally expanding to meet it. So, what are the exact actionable steps interested business leaders need to take to capitalize on this expanding platform? Step 1 is simple. Mark your calendars and target the dates of 18th to 21st May 2027. Step 2, prepare your physical heavy machinery and circular solutions, because as we learned, Europe wants to see your equipment running live. Step 3, maximize your international networking by joining the official Polymer Bazaar VIP delegation to unlock those high-value leads. And finally, Step 4, book your stand at Targi Kielse before that massive 50,000 square meters fills up completely. We've seen the data, we've seen the live technology in action, and we've explored the massive diplomatic bridges being built. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Where does your business fit into the future of European trade? The gateway is wide open in Poland, and the bazaar is booming with real-time manufacturing and deal-making. It's up to you to envision your role in it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this provided a clear strategic map of the incredible opportunities waiting for you in the European plastics market.